They make all this fuss about the separation of church and state, even though religion is the basis of all governments, including America's.
Religion is not the basis of all governments, least of all in the United States where the Constitution is. And our Constitution's specific call for the separation of religion and government, church and state, is the result of the experience the first settlers had with the restrictions imposed upon them by the old world's control of the state by the church. Since then, religious freedom has been the reason millions of others have immigrated to America. And it's only through this separation of religion and government that people of all faiths are assured fair and equal treatment. So, in a democracy, the absolute right to all religious freedom must not depend upon the religion of the majority, or the religion of those in power, or the religion of a very vocal evangelical minority.
If some of them really get bent out of shape about invocations at government and public meetings.
I don't feel bent out of shape, but I do feel resentful when I either have to be part of invocations at non-religious government or military functions, or be embarrassed by drawing attention to myself when I choose not to take part in the prayers. I also get angry when it's taken for granted that I and everyone else there is of the same particular religion as the person who is leading the invocation, who is 9 out of 10 times a Christian minister or priest. Separation of the church from the state is guaranteed in the Constitution, and if it's not unlawful for a government agency to do this, then it certainly seems to be at least an act of arrogance and insensitivity. Incidentally, that also goes for the saying of grace imposed at both government and non-government functions.
Well, those were the humanist answers to the religious accusations against humanism. Humanism's basic, in a nutshell, message being that humanism is not against religion. It's just against forcing religion on someone else, because to do so would be un-American. As would be trying to diminish the separation of church and state through any backdoor or even front door maneuvers. And here are some answers to those hit-and-run political attacks on humanism.
They're against meeting our country's military needs.
It's dishonest rabble-rousing to single out the humanists as being against meeting our military needs, when so many millions of other Americans also feel that we reached nuclear overkill levels long ago. Time is running out for a bilateral freeze on the development and deployment of all nuclear weapons.
They're not loyal Americans.
That's nonsense. I'm a loyal American and also a humanist, and have been ever since someone sent me a copy of Carlos Lamont's book, The Philosophy of Humanism. So I read it and I said, this is what I've been looking for. Unlike professional patriots, we humanists are loyal Americans every day of the week, and not just on the 4th of July and other national holidays. And it's a loyalty not limited to the immediate vicinity of the American flag. We believe patriotism means building a country of strong family ties, a willingness to help our neighbors so that our generation and those to come will be assured equal opportunity for all citizens alike, and that the air and water not be fouled by unlawful and irresponsible polluters or made lethal by toxic dumps and nuclear warfare. That's my humanist version of a caring, loyal American.
It's an alarming coincidence that the same people who would diminish your political and religious freedom are also the self-appointed, self-anointed guardians of the sexual attitudes and practices of millions of total strangers.
They're basically immoral.
He may be having a hard time deciding, but I'm not. Humanists are neither amoral nor immoral. Humanism is a moral and ethical philosophy designed to bring out the very best in humankind, as is the humanist standard for his or her own personal behavior. Our attitude towards sex is certainly not immoral. We believe that people shouldn't exploit each other sexually. We believe that sex is a very important part of human existence, and that it deserves very sensitive considerations. Sex, like religion, is a personal matter, and unless someone is victimized by it, it's a private matter, and should be nobody else's business but your own.
They're in favor of abortion.
No one
has the right to the final say about abortion for me. That includes my husband, my parents, my sisters, brothers, relatives, and friends, and the government. I'll never understand how any male, or even any female stranger, can dare to assume they have the right to tell me or any other woman what to do about such a complex and personal matter. Humanists believe in family planning first as the best deterrent to abortion. But overall, we believe in the right of women to have the freedom of choice about abortion.
They want to teach sex education in schools.
What's wrong with a teacher trained in sex education, teaching it in a classroom, and parents teaching it at home, with the parents working out the attitudes and standards of sexual behavior as the parents' share of the responsibility? From what my students tell me, many parents are frequently too embarrassed or just plain unable to answer their scientific and medical questions because parents lack this knowledge themselves, probably because they weren't taught it in school or because they have their own sexual hang-ups. Speaking as a mother, I believe school is really the best place to demystify sex and give accurate information, as opposed to that given by embarrassed or uninformed parents, or in back alley or behind the barn lessons, or acquired through negative and damaging experiences.
They want to teach birth control in school.
These teenagers didn't understand and therefore didn't use birth control. Most of them feel guilty, abused, and rejected. Obviously, all that they'd heard about premarital sex from church, family, or uninformed peers, in addition to their own fears about becoming pregnant, was no substitute for professional education about birth control. Humanists feel that free access to education and information about birth control would prevent what is the leading cause of school dropouts, and that objective information about birth control is not an invitation to sex, but the best means to prevent personal tragedies and abortions.
They support gay rights and are responsible for the spread of homosexuality.
Of course humanists support gay rights. Humanists support the right of any individual to exercise their freedom of choice in a wide range of areas. Only the naive and the uninformed believe that a straight person can be talked into or seduced into homosexuality as a way of life. Psychologists and psychiatrists no longer believe it's a psychological disorder anymore, or some arbitrary whim on the part of the individual. As a matter of fact, there's even some scientific evidence which indicates that there may be a biological predisposition toward homosexuality. But regardless of the cause, homosexuals, just like heterosexuals, are human beings with the same capacity toward altruism, honesty, and service to humanity. And like everyone else, they should be judged on those qualities, and not the uniquely personal and private matter of their sexual preference.
They're for free love and against marriage.
Our answer to that ancient and unoriginal nonsense about free love is, we're married. So are most of our humanist friends. Humanism believes we shouldn't discourage normal human personality and behavior. Since most people marry because they love each other, for what reason would humanists try to reject or limit marriage? Humanists are strong believers in the concept of family, and even provide training for family counselors who then have the right to perform legal marriage ceremonies.
However, we humanists recognize that not all people are lucky enough to make love to somebody they love. So for all the millions of people that are not married or in a similar relationship, we feel that sexual activity is a matter of personal freedom and choice between consenting individuals.
They're in favor of ERA. That means a woman goes to war. They're against protecting women in any way. They don't even want men to open doors for them.
Of course humanists are in favor of ERA. So are a lot of people. ERA is the ultimate ethical and compassionate way to protect our mothers, sisters, daughters, wives, and the rest of the 51% of the population called women. especially in our male-dominated, money and youth-oriented society. I think it's time that we made legal provisions for the equal rights of women, the Equal Rights Amendment. Oh, and please, don't believe all that ridiculous nonsense about sending our women to fight in war or forcing them to do jobs they're not physically equipped to do. Humanists don't want that. We just want to guarantee to women that if they want to join a combat-ready battalion, or if they enjoy the physical labor that accompanies some jobs, and the additional income, no one will prevent them from doing so, legally.